My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jobs, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back, my friend. Today I have Dr. Kelly Kessler on the show. And today we're going to talk about literally how to get your nervous system in order. Dr. Kelly is a licensed physiotherapist, transformative coach, host of Rewarding Health podcasts. She's a mom of two wonderful boys. Kelly helps her achieving women recognize and heal from dysfunctional patterns that are stopping them from getting the things they want and causing them a lot of stress. Her unique methodology is regulating the nervous system and subconscious programming. Kelly is inspired from the School of Hard Knocks, where she was a perfectionist herself, making sure everything was perfect before she even took the first step, a people pleaser, and having healed herself from all of these things, from eating disorders, from chronic pain, and from panic attacks. She empowers high achievers reclaim their worth, honor their health, and inner peace, which allows them to tap into the innate ability they already have to shift from survival mode to thriving. Kelly has been featured in multiple publications across the globe, including the Daily. I am so excited to bring to you this guest today because she comes with a lot of wisdom, a lot of value, a lot to offer, and a lot to share. I just can't wait to dive in about how she does what she does, but I think her work is pretty amazing. She helps her clients create a new story. When I last spoke to Kerry, the thing that she said was, in summary, Prima, the work I do is there's women out there that are trying to save everybody on the plane. And when you look at them, they have no mask on. They haven't tried to save themselves first. So kind of that's the work I do. Because until you save yourself, you can save nobody else. I'm super excited. Please pull a stool and listen in. And if you know anybody that is trying to save the world and they have no mask on, you know yourselves, get this recording and just share it already. Have this conversation together. Dr. Kelly, what an honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
I am the best person when it comes to going astray and talking about things that people don't do. So please, can you tell the listener what you do?
Sure. Yes. I help high achieving women recognize and heal from patterns of self-abandonment and unrelenting stress. So it is through those patterns of putting everyone else first, taking care of everybody else, either subconsciously or consciously through other people's emotional needs, physical needs, mental needs, and then you're just leaving yourself last. And you're suppressing your own needs, you're quieting your own voice. You know deeply that you need more, but you keep thinking, I'll just, one day I'll take care of myself. And you wait for that optimal moment, but it never comes. And now you're starting to see some of these patterns of where maybe your physical health is declining, mentally you're feeling exhausted, you are literally running on fumes, and you think that you can go further, but you're starting to feel like you need more in life and it's just not there. And those are the people I help.
I love it. Looks like I was 50% there. I'll do better next time. Gary, tell us how you got here. What's your story?
Yeah, so I help people because that is who I was for so many years. And I am literally helping the past version of myself. And it's an ongoing process. It's not like you get to a certain point and you're fully healed and life is butterflies and roses. But I have come such a long way from where I was completely suppressing my own needs, constantly looking outside myself for a sense of fulfillment, for a sense of worth, for a sense of peace. And I never found it. I was seeking out all the things. For me, achievement was where I searched. So I was constantly looking for the next degree, the job, anything that could prove to me that I'm worthy. And so I just went through and got degree after degree. And then each time I got out, I'm like, this is not how I thought I would feel. And so I'm like, okay, I just need to double down, work harder, do more. And I would do that and dive into that and really neglect all aspects of my life except for that achievement and accolades and things that I think would make me feel the way I was deeply desiring. And every time I hit that goal, I would get back to myself and be like, this isn't it. I feel empty. This is not how I want to feel. And through the process, I was suffering mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I was struggling with chronic back pain for years, which I realized was stress related. And I had dealt with an eating disorder for many years because I was constantly thinking, well, maybe if I look a certain way, I'll feel fulfilled and worthy. That also was not the path that led me to that. And so I struggled with many things throughout the years and constantly taking care of others' needs, allowing other people to, I would honor their emotions. If they were having a bad day, I would self-sacrifice and take care of them and honor their needs even more than my own, and even be impacted by other people's energies. And this went on for years and years. And it wasn't to the point where I kind of hit what I say is my rock bottom, where I realized like, I can't live like this anymore. Like I literally cannot live like this anymore. And it was really that point in my life. I had just gotten married. We were building a house. My husband and I were the general contractors of our house. I was pregnant with my first son. And I was driving an hour to and from work, working full time, working 10, 11-hour days, 5 days a week, coming back, then working on our house. And I was struggling with back pain at that time. I was having panic attacks at night. And there was just so many things. And I remember just this moment sitting on the ground. I had been furloughed from my job because it was a pandemic at that time. I was worried about finances, worried about my health. And I just sat on the ground looking at my 9-month-old son being like, I've been physically here, but I'm not mentally here. I'm watching his life pass me by. And I'm not even enjoying this time because I am such in survival mode that I don't even know how to be present with myself or anyone else. And it was at that moment I realized I need to change something. And I didn't know what to do, but I just knew I was not willing to accept what I was living under at that time.
I would wonder, what did you think was happening for you as you were living with another human being and constantly chasing things and constantly being stressed? In your mind, were you aware that there's something wrong, or you just were moving and thriving and looking for the next thing? And what was it like for you? I wonder, because I always feel like people don't even know.
Yeah, I remember thinking throughout the whole time that like everyone else has it together. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I struggling so much that I feel like I'm just like empty inside? And that's really, it just felt like such an emptiness in me, and that like I lived out of guilt. And that's really what it was. Like all my decisions were out of guilt and trying to feel like I'm not enough, so I need to figure something out to feel like I'm enough. And it was this like sense of lack and scarcity within myself that I was looking outside myself to feel, excuse me, fill that void. And I just nothing ever filled it. And so it was really just feeling like I'm not good enough. Like no matter what I do, I'm not good enough. And what I'm doing is not good enough. And I was busting my butt, working hard, going and constantly doing long hours. And it's just like, at what point am I ever going to feel good enough? And that's really what it felt like. Every aspect of my life, I feel like I was doing all the work, but it just never brought in the results of the fulfillment that I was looking for.
That's big. That's big. So now you decide, I won't do this anymore. I want better. I want to change. What triggered that? I just wonder. What was the moment when you were like, you know what? I need to look on the inside. I need to change something about. What was the trigger?
Yeah, it really was, I believe, that time we were my husband and I both got furloughed. So we were both working as physical therapists at the
Mm.
time we got furloughed. So we went from working from two full-time jobs, and I was working a full-time and a part-time, to literally I was not working. I was just working my part-time job. My husband went down to a part-time job, and so I had a lot of time in that time, but I was at home and I was just sitting there being like, I have to figure something out. I was panicking because we had literally just built our house, and I'm like, we need to figure this out. This is very scary. And so I had just time with my son, and I'm just like, I don't want to live like this anymore, because it had been an accumulation of years of feeling like I was constantly going. I was in probably the lowest place of I've ever been mentally and emotionally at that point. And I'm like, if I don't change something right now, like I'm not gonna be fully present for my son. I'm not living the life I thought it would feel like. Like I have all these things to be grateful for, and it just feels like I have nothing right now. And that really was the turning point where I'm like, I don't know how to change this, but I just know that I can't live like this anymore. And it was really that point where I'm like, I'm no longer willing to tolerate what I'm doing right now and what I'm thinking right now, what I'm feeling right now. I'm no longer willing to tolerate this existence, and I will figure out a way to get out of this.
Hmm. So then what was step one? What did you do when you decided, you know what, I am no longer willing to live like this? What was your, how, where did you go next? What was your first say?
Yeah, so ironically, I ended up, I was at home, and I had turned on Netflix, and I ended up watching this documentary called Heal.
Hmm.
And it was really talking about the mind-body connection, and how whatever's in your mind will literally create itself in your reality. And it was the first time I'd really been exposed to that. I'm like, oh my gosh, there was just something about it that I'm like, this is the truth. Like, this is speaking truth to me. And so that, I believe, was the first breadcrumb that
Hmm.
made me explore other options. And then I was like, okay, I started just doing some yoga videos and started tuning into my body. And because I had never slowed down. For me, like exercise was like go, go, go. Everything was intense, going hard. Slowing down was challenging for me. So at
Hmm.
this moment, doing these little things like, okay, I'll do yoga. And I'm like, wow, I feel good. And it was like this sense of like, oh, that feels nice. Like I had a different experience. And so that kept me going. And then next I engaged in some breath work, and I'm like, oh, that feels good too. And it became this breadcrumb process where like I would go one avenue, and then it would open up another door, and I would move into that door. And then during this time, my brother recommended, he's like, you know what, why don't you just start your own business? And I'm like, okay. So then I started doing that, because I had applied to 40 jobs after I got furloughed, and
Hmm.
nothing was panning out. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. So I started my own business. I hired a business coach, and part of that was a non-negotiable time for yourself. So it became part of my business plan that I had to invest in myself. So I started reading 10 pages every day. I started exercise. I mean, I was exercising, but I was making it a non-negotiable. So that became part of my routine. Reflection, journaling, that was all part of this self-development. And it literally became this catalyst of getting the ball rolling. And so through my business of having to elevate myself so that I could serve other people, that became this catalyst of like, there's something bigger than me. Like I need to be in a better place so I can be there for other people. And that really became this like, okay, like I can look outside myself. And it became this perspective shift of like, I can bring something meaningful. And if I keep following these breadcrumbs, I'm going to be in a place where I can help other people get out of this. And it really became this shift in how it felt. It felt expansive. It felt good. It felt joyful. And I'm like, oh, I have to keep going. There was a deep knowing that you're on the right path. Like just keep going, just keep figuring it out.
So now, how did you move from that to now I mentor others, I consult for people who, how did you, what was that journey of moving from, okay, I just feel like I'm not worthy. It doesn't matter what I do, I just feel like I'm not worthy. And then you're now slowing down, you're now getting in tune with your body, you're now figuring out like, okay, there's another world where you can breathe in and out, where you can slow down and the sky doesn't fall from the heavens and get on the so you realize you can actually slow down and no one will die. And now you're on this journey. How did you get to now? the place where you're at, where you're actually helping other women get that result for themselves. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah. So it came from a lot of like self-reflection of like, what is something that's deeply meaningful to me that I have been challenged with, and really diving into my subconscious mind and understanding like, how do I work? Like, what are my belief systems? What are things that have like restricted me? And I really had to do a deep dive into myself to realize like what has been holding me back in life. Like, why have I been riddled with self-doubt? Why have I been restricting myself, keeping myself small, feeling like I don't have a voice? Like, why am I feeling like I don't feel fulfilled? And so it really became this deep dive that I had to do a lot of self-reflection and understanding like, these are the messages I've been telling myself. These are the stories I've been telling myself. These are the experiences I had that I gave this meaning that I'm not enough. And it really became this place of feeling like I was powerless, where I was just living this existence, to understanding like, oh, I can change this. Like, I can change the meaning that I give to things. And so through my own self-discovery, I realized like, this is something that I can change. And as I started doing it myself, I was seeing different results in my life. I was feeling differently. I was starting to be like actually present, which was so foreign to me. And so my whole life started changing. I'm like, if I can get myself out of such a dark place where I felt like I was literally just existing, and get to a place where now I'm starting to like see life for what it is, like realizing I have so much to be grateful for that like I couldn't even see because I didn't have the capacity. And now I'm starting to see life in a more joyful, expansive way. I'm like, I can help people through this and help people who have gone through maybe similar struggles that I have, because at that point in my life, I was lost in that darkest moment, and I figured out a path that has worked for me, and now I can help other people go along that path. They don't have to forge it like I did. I'm forging it for them.
Mm. I know it's been 4 years. You've been in the school of hard knocks. You've put the pieces together, and I'm hoping we can get the blueprint today. So, what is that process of moving from existing in survival mode to thriving? Take us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing that was the big shift for me was understanding like I have to go through my body first. Like for
Mm.
me, negative thoughts were plaguing me. Like I would get into these rumination cycles of just thinking everything negative, thinking about like everything that could go wrong, worrying about everything. And I would keep trying to like, okay, just think positive, like think of something happy. And like it was almost like this resistance. Like the more I try to fight the negativity in my head, the more it would rear its ugly head. And so I realized that like, okay, if I go through my body and I start just calming my body down, changing the sensations with my body, tuning into my body, it was almost like opening up my mind through the process. And so I started realizing that if how dysregulated my nervous system was, because I was literally living in survival mode. And so feeling and recognizing my body that I'm carrying tension through my muscles, through my fascia, the connective tissue, I'm carrying this tension that just does not release. I was getting headaches. I wasn't sleeping. I was feeling like I was getting sick a lot. I was experiencing all these symptoms. My skin was breaking out. I mean, I was literally in survival mode. And I started realizing if I can get my body in a different place, like now it communicates with my mind and opens up my mind to new opportunities. So I started regulating my nervous system, working through breath work. I started doing some vagus nerve techniques. I started just doing some gentle movement, listening to my body, doing some pandiculation, which is really, if you think about like a cat that wakes up in the morning, is breathing and then a contraction, then you relax. So I was teaching my body how to relax through the nervous system. And as I started to teach my body that it's not in survival mode, that it is actually in a relaxed state, my mind was able to open up to new opportunities. And that's when I could really dive into what's going on. I actually had this like whole clarity of this ability to think and this ability to change the way I was perceiving things. And so gratitude then became a big practice for me in seeing all the things that I had to be grateful for. And that became a consistent thing. Every night, I think of three things I'm grateful for. And so I started integrating these small little practices. And that really is the biggest thing. And I think we get stuck in this, that we need to overhaul our life. We need to do all these changes. But for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to do one thing. I'll do that. And then I'll add one more other thing. and then add that. And that's what it has been. And I still continue these practices to today. And even though many external circumstances I've experienced have been really awful in the last year, I am in such a regulated place and where I feel that I can handle this, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing, is that when we're doing this and we're on a healing journey, it's not to say that everything is sunshine and butterflies. It's that you don't get in these low places as long or as deep. And you're able to get yourself back out into a place of more of a peaceful state much quicker. And that's what I've experienced as I've integrated these practices in my life.
So what you're saying is life will still happen, you know, anger will still come, people will still stress you. Do you have like a regulator inside you? You don't blow up, you don't allow your day to be defined by what your neighbor said. You don't become like an emotional roller coaster. That's what you're saying. That's beautiful. Because I always feel like people have this, you're either healed or you're not. I think life still happens. I think things still go pretty bad. But I think your bounce back ability or resilience shoots up. And so you have a stronger muscle through. I love it.
That's exactly it.
I love it. So if I was listening in and I am like, I have no idea how to slow down. What should I do today? Like, what is my step 1? What is my step 2? What is my step 3? What is my step 4? What should I do? Even though I can't do them, I would love the awareness of, okay, Kelly, what you're telling me is that my kids can still drive me nuts and I don't lose my head. What you're saying is that my husband can keep doing what he's doing and I can process it differently. What you're saying is that I don't have to be always walking around with stress. Okay. I want to believe you, but you have no idea what my world looks like. I have 5 screaming kids. I have a husband who, I don't know what they do. Maybe they drink all night. I don't know. The worst thing a husband can do, I don't know. And my boss is the worst boss on the planet. Just take me through, if I were to come and get you to hold my hand, what are we doing? What is step 1? What is step 2? What is step 3? What is step 3? I would love the information of what is the process of that.
Yeah. So for the person who feels like that, first, I want to say I understand. I completely understand, because slowing down was the most uncomfortable foreign thing for me. I'm like, it sounds great, but how do you do it? And I also want to say that person who's having a life that feels very chaotic, I understand too. And I understand because this year has been probably my most chaotic year externally. I lost my brother a year ago. I've had a lot of family upheaval. I'm, building a business. I am raising 2 young boys. My life is chaotic right now, but I can tell you that externally you may look at it and say, oh my gosh, it's a lot. But internally, I can tell you that I still feel joy in so many moments. I am still so grateful. I still feel so many moments of peace in my life, regardless of what's happened outside of me. So for that person who feels like that, I understand. And I want to say that that's why this is so powerful, because I feel like it's a testament to the work that I've done in myself, that I can still be in a place where I am growing, I am expanding, I am serving. And not to say I don't have really hard moments. I have. This year has been a lot, but I can get myself back into a place where I can see things in a more expansive way. And so I just want to speak to that person. I understand what you're going through. And I want to tell you that this really does work. And so for the first step, what I would say is that you need to give yourself grace and don't expect leaps and bounds in the first moment. This is like building a muscle. And so if I put you on a bench press, I wouldn't give you 300 pounds to do the first time. Maybe start with 10 pounds. And what that means is if you are struggling to quiet your mind, struggling to slow down, start with just 1 minute a day. So 1 minute, all I want you to do is just put your hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly. And I want you to just close your eyes and just feel your heartbeat. Listen to your breath for just 1 moment, 1 minute today. And give yourself that moment and literally time yourself. Because if you know there's a timer, okay, here's 1 minute you take out of your day and start there.
Mm,
And if it's 1 minute you can do for a week, that's 1 minute. Now, if you can build on that, 2 minutes, can you do 2 minutes the next week? So take the smallest step forward, because the thing about this is that this will never change on willpower, or this will never change on discipline. This changes on momentum. And so when you can feel what it feels to be like, oh my gosh, I just spent 1 minute. I was really present with my breath and my heart.
mm,
And it felt good, it's that feeling of like, wow, that felt good. And then the next step is to celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself that you took 1 minute for yourself today to really tune into yourself, because it's through this celebration that we actually get an increase in dopamine. And dopamine within our brain is that reward neurotransmitter. It's what tells you like, yeah, you did it. Let's keep going. It's that
mm,
motivator. So when you celebrate yourself and literally acknowledge it, maybe you write it down, maybe you put it on a calendar and be like, today I did 1 minute. And then the next day, you do another minute, and really
mm,
honor yourself. And then I would even say put that on a calendar, because when you start to see that, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I did that. Now you are creating a place where you are showing up for yourself and you're actually seeing it on black and white. Because for anyone who's listening and you're the one who's constantly going, has a hard time slowing down, taking a moment, you
mm,
almost need to see that. That becomes that productivity. Anchor into something that you already know. You know how to be productive. You know how to do the work. So now
mm,
you're using something that works for you, but you're using it in a way that you're allowing yourself to slow down. So you're getting the evidence of it. Anchor into the feeling, celebrate yourself, and go slow and be consistent.
mm,
And that is the biggest thing I can say for someone who's listening that needs just a starting point for right now.
mm. So give yourself grace,
Mm-hmm.
have empathy,
Mm-hmm.
celebrate yourself for whatever you have achieved, and find the time to literally slow down, listen to your heartbeat. Do that every day for the last. So once I can do that process, then what?
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
else? What else? I know you have the tools, you have everything, but for me, I want the information. Like, okay, so Dr. Kelly, now I've slowed down. Now I have a minute or two or three. Is that it? Is that all you teach me when I come to work with you? Is it the way to kind of slow down and get in your body and just slow down and hear your heart? Is there more that when I work with you, we get to do? That's kind of the information I'm after.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I'm big on going through the body first. So, the
Mm,
next step would be like when you can actually tune into yourself, that is the biggest thing. And
mm,
now it's going to be like, let's learn some breath techniques. So,
mm,
learning how to breathe again, because when you're in survival mode, first of all, you're not aware of your breath. So, that's the first thing that we're trying to get is that awareness. But then the second step is how do you breathe differently? And it may seem so silly, like everyone breathes, but when you're in survival, you tend to breathe very shallow. You have a fast rate. Taking a deep breath sometimes feels like a struggle. So
mm,
now it's literally teaching yourself, like, how do we do a deep breath? One thing I teach is a physiological sigh, where you breathe in through your nose, you take another little sip, hold it for a moment, and then slowly exhale. And so what breath work does is it literally teaches your system that you are not in survival mode. So it is giving the stimulus, because if you saw a lion out in the wilderness, your first thing when you do is, you start breathing heavy, your heart's pounding, your body responds, it tightens up because you literally are in survival. The last thing your body would do be like, okay, I need to take a deep breath. So if you do the opposite of survival mode, you teach your system that like you
mm,
are safe in this moment because you're breathing like this. If you weren't safe, you wouldn't be able to breathe like this. So then teaching yourself that you are safe within your body just through the breath would be the next step, learning how to breathe. And then through that, now teaching your body that it is okay to relax and how to actually release the tension. So I use breath work through my system of allowing you to tense up the muscles. So a big area I've carried tension throughout my life was my upper traps. So the muscle from your neck and your shoulder, I would carry so much tension there and I'd be like, oh, I can't release this. It's always up by my ears. And so a big thing is like, let's use breath and actually teach you how to relax those muscles from the inside out. So you breathe in, you actually contract the muscles tune into how that feels, and then you slowly release, and then you pause at the bottom just to then notice how you feel. So you're teaching your body that it's okay to relax in conjunction with the breath. So now moving through the body and teaching it that, okay, now we're relaxing the muscles, which again is the opposite of what we would do in survival mode. If there was a lion, we would tense up. So teaching your body how to feel safe again. And then from that point on, once you are starting to opening up, allow your body to move out of that survival mode, that's when you can do a deep dive into your subconscious mind. And what are the beliefs, the thoughts, the processes that you have deep within your system that you're maybe not even aware of, that is literally directing how you see the world, changing the lens in which you see the world. And that is the next step. And our subconscious mind is formed from ages 0 to 7. So it's literally the programming that we have that we're not even aware of. It's what we've been given by our parents, anybody of authority through those years, anyone who's said something to us that maybe made us think something about ourselves. We are not even aware of that programming for most of our lives. And that is how we see the world, is based off of that programming. And so, with our phone, we update our phone quickly each time it needs an update, but we don't often take the time to update our mind and realize that we can reprogram that to see the world in a different way.
I love this conversation. So now, after the subconscious reprogramming, where does the nervous regulation occur? Is it through the slowing down and getting in your body and the breath work? Is that where the nervous regulation is happening? Or is this a step after the subconscious reprogramming?
Yeah, so nervous system regulation is actually happening when you're working through the body, but I want to make it clear, because with nervous system regulation, it's often a misconception that it's just calming your body. Nervous system regulation is teaching your nervous system how to respond appropriately. So it is allowing you to relax when it's time to relax. So when it's bedtime, you're able to get yourself into a state of relaxation. It's also known as parasympathetic response. But if you were in a car and someone stopped in front of you, you don't want to be in that state. You don't want to be in a relaxed state, because that's not safe. So you need to be able to also get into a state of like, I need to respond quick. I need to have this stress response because I have to survive in this moment. That becomes your sympathetic response. But where the regulation comes in is that if you have somebody stop short in front of you, you have your heart rate, your heart pounding, your breath is increased, you're able to get back into your steady state, your homeostasis state, where you're able to get more into relaxed state. So when people have a dysregulated nervous system, what happens is you get spikes and you stay up there. So for the most part, people are in a very stressed state because they're bombarded by news, they're bombarded by negativity in their life. So they spike and they stay up in that sympathetic response. So their heart's always pounding. They can't think clearly. They're just trying to get through the day. They're getting sick because their immune system is decreased from that. And then they stay up there for so long that then they crash. And then they get to this place where they become like apathetic. They're exhausted. They have nothing left to give. They just are shot. They're foggy in the brain. They can't think clearly. And then they muster up enough energy, and then something else happens in their life that is stressful, which is inevitable. And then they spike right back up to the top, and they're now in a stuck state. Versus when you're regulated, life is going to happen. You will get things that happen that you don't like. Stress will happen. It's inevitable, but it's how you respond. So you should spike up, but instead of coming up and staying up, you should be able to get yourself back down to a restful state. You see this in animals. I mean, if you ever look at Discovery Channel, you see a lion chasing an antelope. The antelope has to run and because it has to survive. But what does it do after the lion is gone, the threat is gone? It usually does some kind of shaking, which is a release of the nervous system. And then it goes back into grazing and being in a more restful state. It's not thinking about the lion, the threat is gone, And that's where we get stuck, is like our lion becomes social media, things that are on there, the news, the email we didn't want to see, the boss that's in our face, the demands of us, the lines in our face all the time. And we're wondering why we can't relax, why we can't get back into a restful state.
That is so powerful. I feel like I understand it, and I'm the last medical person in the world. My family is half medics, and I'm like one of those people who said I will not be a medical person. it
Yeah.
really is exciting, or it's interesting what you've explained.
Mhm.
Life happens and you can spike up. Everyone can be triggered to spike up,
Mhm.
but you can either spike up and crash,
Mhm.
which means you actually make things worse than they were,
Mhm.
or you can spike up and regulate, which
Mhm.
is literally going through life.
Mhm. Exactly.
Life happens to all of us, but how are you going to go through life? I
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
I like that. I just want to recap where we are at.
Mhm.
And I love Dr. Kelly's work because she also has a history of being a doctor. I trust what she teaches because she is borrowing it from the medical years that some of us refuse to put in, like myself. So if you're in that state where you can't slow down, where everything, I think one of the most evident signs that you need her help is you seem to blow up very quickly.
Mhm. Yes.
Anything
Very.
can make you blow,
Mhm.
and you do not know why. And it can be the smallest thing on the planet, and you just spike and crash. There is a lady who came on the podcast. I haven't recorded her thing, and she said, "You know what, Prima, life happened. The other year I lost $32 million. That was a business that I saw getting down in the ground. What could I have done? I could have chosen my hell enough and mourned that business for the rest of my life, or I could have done what I do, which is created my heaven on earth, which is move on besides the 32 million, because I am the person who can make the money, so I can make it again." So I like what you're saying because it's literally that. I can lose a $32 million business and you can lose a $32 million business. The difference is what is going to happen to you because of that.
Mhm.
I like what you're saying. So
Yeah.
to just recap what Dr. Kelly just went through is how do you get from survival mode, from existing, as she calls it, to thriving. And the first thing is to give yourself grace. You don't know what you don't know. And so it's not your fault. You just don't know what you don't know. So have grace with yourself. You have tried in the middle of chaos not to commit suicide. So have grace. Celebrate yourself. You actually are resilient. You actually have what it takes to, come through the storm. Two, celebrate yourself. Everything may be going astray, but there's some things that are going well. Let's celebrate that. Three, let's actually calendar or schedule slowing down. Put your arm on your chest and close your eyes. Maybe first day is gonna be 15 seconds, and that's fine. Maybe second day is gonna be 30 seconds, and that's fine. Just keep bumping that up, bumping that up. You will begin to love that experience. And as you do it by the day, by the day, by the day, you will start coming down. I think that's going to be the thing you can do right now when you leave this podcast. Three or four, she does what they call breath work, which helps you release tension and know really how to not crash. Everyone spikes, but if you don't know how to release tension, you're going to crash. So maybe the spike is here. And because you don't know how to release your tension, you're going to keep going until you crash. What she's helping you do with this breath work is literally regulate so that you don't crash. You can either get here, crash, or you can boom, spike. So this is spike. This is crash, committed suicide, or ran through the road and they knocked the person because the wife left them. That is crashing. And what she's really helping people do with their nervous system is that the oscillation, the regulation, that nice place where you're not crashing and you're not spiking too much. I like it. Once you can regulate, now you're ready for stepping into the life that you want, which is now subconscious reprogramming. Removing those things that the world put in you, the news put in you, your parents put in you, everybody put in your head, and putting a new system that hopefully is focused on where you're going, what you want, the life you want to create. Dr. Kelly, why did I miss out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that captures it. And I think the biggest thing is that you start to see a whole shift as you integrate these consistent things into your life. And I think the biggest shift is that before I would literally subconsciously see all the problems in my life and see everything that is against me, thinking the world is out to get me, that of course this would happen. Here we go again, another thing that's gonna like knock me down. Now the shift is like, okay, like the universe is literally working for me. Even some of the things that you may be like, how is that possibly working for you? I can look back and be like, it was all moving me in the direction of connecting with like the highest version of myself, with me becoming the person that I am today. And it's an ongoing journey. I will continue on this. There are things that I still need to learn about myself, but that is the biggest shift, is that there are so many things I could not see that I had to be grateful for back then. And today, now I look back and I'm like, I had so much to be grateful for. I literally can seek out things and find, I could go on forever, all the things I have to be grateful for. And so that's how big of a shift is, that you see life through a different lens. I see life in a way that I'm like, okay, how is this working for me? And I can come up with answers and figure out like, this is all placed in my life for me to learn something. And if you asked me that years ago, like why these things happen, I'd be like, because it's out to get me and there's all these bad things in life. But now I realize that everything is put into our life to teach us something. And if we can learn that lesson, surrender to that, not try to control every little aspect of our life, and literally surrender to what life is trying to show us and present us, and be grateful for those lessons, even if they're really, really challenging. Be grateful that they're here to present to you, because they're only here to elevate you and be a stepping stone for you to step into the beautiful version of yourself. And that is such a empowering thing that I realize in my life, and that you are worthy of investing in yourself. You're worthy of your own time, your own energy. You are worthy of loving yourself first and foremost. And when you pour your energy into yourself, you become less tolerant of all the things that take it away. And so that is something that I think has just been a huge shift in myself, is recognizing like, I am worthy of myself. I am worthy of my own love. I am worthy of my own energy. And that is a non-negotiable for me now. And I couldn't have said that a few years ago.
You know, let's unpack there. You just say something that I think is the biggest takeaway for me in this interview. You had to shift your lens of the world. That's very big, because the same thing can happen to two people and we have a different lens. And I don't know if the person who is in survival mode actually realizes what they're doing, because even if a car came and crushed my toes right now, I would find a reason. Like, I'll be like, what's the lesson? Never been the road randomly. Like, there is always a reason. I always find that lesson. So, life, what are you teaching me today? I have never looked at problems like this thing is happening to me. I've always been like, okay, I like to blame God. God, what is the lesson that you want me to learn now? Even if a tree came and fell on me inside my house, I would say, all right, so what's the lesson here? But I appreciate that not everybody has this lens. And I can't tell you that I know where this lens came from. But I recall when I was starting this journey, I had a package I bought from, I think, Jonas Sarah, called Winning the Game, where I think it was subconscious reprogramming, winning the game of money, the game of wealth, the game of health, the game of procrastination. He called it that. And I took the tips because I'm just a sponge. And so I took that and went through that. But now I'm here and I interview people like you, I begin to appreciate that park. I didn't even know that I had subconscious problems, but I was like, you know what? I went the 5 things and I did them. I want to go back a little bit and help people realize, kind of call someone out, because I've told a lot of people who do this and they do it in a way that it's normal for them. It's their reality, which is okay. But if they are listening to this podcast, they're in a place where they're probably ready to hear it. So how do I know that my lens of the world is what is causing me problems and not the problems themselves? Because if they listen to this, I want them to go, oh my God, I didn't see it this way. Help me and speak into their ear, because I want them to go, OMG, this is my problem. I create my hell on earth every day. And I wonder why. I want to speak into this person for a few minutes, because I feel like that was powerful, what you just brought up there.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that was an eye-opener to me, and I think for anyone listening, that you can start to get better awareness of where you are in that is, what are the questions you're asking yourself? Because this was the biggest eye-opener for me, is that years ago when something would happen, so like say when we got furloughed from our jobs, like, why is this happening to me? And so that is a very victim mentality. You know, why is this happening to me? I'm literally disempowering myself because I'm thinking that this is the worst thing. It's happening to me. It's trying to keep me stuck and held down. And I can look back at that moment, and now I'm so grateful for it, because it was a huge catalyst in me changing my life. And if I had asked back then, how is this working for me? That would have been a very different question. It's literally one answer. It feels very nuanced, but it's such a different way of how you perceive it. Because when I ask, how is this working for me? I become the hero in my own life. I get to see, like, wow, how is this moving me forward in my own journey? How is this moving me forward in my vision? Like, what is this doing to bolster me in my journey? And so if you have things happen in your life and you're asking like yourself, why is this happening to me? Why does this always happen? How come I'm always on the bad end of this? Why is my health always, trying to keep me stuck or down? Why are my finances always in the hole? Think about the energy when you ask yourself those questions. Like if you ask that, I mean, I'm just saying those and I feel low, I feel constricted, I feel restricted. And so pay attention to the energy when you ask yourself those questions. And if you were to answer those, would it just feel like you're confirming some place of feeling like a victim in those circumstances? And ask yourself that in a very curious way, not a shameful, guilt-stricken way. I don't want anyone to come out of this and feel like, oh, I need to be shameful of how I'm, treating myself for asking these questions. But when you start asking yourself questions of like, how is this working for me? What is the world trying to teach me? What are the lessons in this? How is the universe supporting me in this moment? And even if you don't have the answers to those questions, just by asking them gets your mind into a place of seeing the world differently. It starts to realize that, like, I don't know why, I may not have the answers, but I believe that this is placed here for a reason. And I believe that it is helping me move forward in my life. I believe it's here for me. It's here to guide me. And that shift is everything. It is literally everything. And like I said, you may not have the answers, but when you ask yourself questions, you get the quality of those questions in your life. So when you ask really good questions, you get really good answers. So just start asking yourself questions of like, how is the universe supporting me in this moment? And when you ask that, it actually, beyond just kind of like a more spiritual realm of the universe, it literally works as far as the brain chemistry, and that we have this place in our brain called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is the way in which you filter the world. So when you start to believe a certain way, you start to see more of that in your life. You can see this if you go by a yellow Honda Civic, you drive out and you're like, my God, there's yellow Honda Civics everywhere. I didn't even see these. How do all these people have yellow Honda Civics? It's not because there's more of them, it's that you're seeing more of it. And that's why this works, is because when you start to direct your brain, live intentionally, you see more of what you direct your brain to see. And that is literally how the lens of your world changes. Your brain will literally filter out all the noise and keep only the good stuff when you start asking yourself the right questions.
I'll probably cut out this part. Do you have a hard stop at the top of the hour, or can you push a little bit, 5 or something?
Yeah, I can say.
Okay, cool. That is so good. When you were starting, you said, I help high achieving women get out of the dysfunctional patterns. Can you explain to me, first of all, who is a high achieving woman? I don't even think I'm a high achieving woman. I don't call myself a high achieving woman. So who is a high achieving woman? Maybe I'm your avatar and I'm like, high achieving women. Is that me? Who is a high achieving woman?
Yeah, so a high achieving woman is someone who is always looking to level up, doing the next thing, projects, the go-getter, the one who's like, all right, I'm gonna just I want to dream big. I'm gonna do big things. I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna, move up the corporate ladder. I'm gonna do the best I can in every situation. And I'm gonna take on that role of being like, I'm gonna just be the best at what I do. And it's person who seeks out validation through external means of like, you got the promotion, you got maybe more money, your business is succeeding, and that you're feeling good and you're attaching your worth to what is going on outside of you. And that's that high achieving woman that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great to achieve. And I don't want to take, it's great to be an achiever. It really is. But when you attach your worth to it and you start to sacrifice your own inner well-being, your health and everything, that's when it becomes an issue.
A trailblazer, a doer, the go-getter, you that is up to get things done, to get yourself to the next level. You that knows that your potential is up there. So let me ask a question. What about me? I want to do all those things, but the less people know of my achievements, the better. The less people know how much money I make, the better. If I can be wealthy and I disappear and nobody knows me, I'll be happy. What does that say about me? Am I still a high achieving woman or not? Because I don't really care about what others think of me. I care what I think of myself, and I care that I am changing the world even if nobody knows. And I care that I'm creating wealth even if nobody knows about it. Like, I honestly don't care. Where does that put me?
Yeah, I think that says it all because it's not about other people. It's about what you think about yourself. And so I would ask you, are you moving towards all those things and is because it gives you a sense of worth? Or if you took all those things out of your life, would you still feel worthy? Would you still feel at peace with yourself? Would you still feel like you're expansive? So if you're attaching your inner worth to what the accolades are or whatever you're accomplishing, where are you? So who are you? And that would be where I would differentiate that. It's not about what other people perceive of you. It's how you perceive yourself.
Let's see if I need some help as well. I'm in a place where I want to do those things because I feel like I have a calling on me, and I feel like my soul will be happier, or I don't know. I feel like God wants me to do those things. I feel like I just don't want a life where I wake up, eat, and sleep. So even if my husband was making millions per day, I would still do something for myself because it gives me a sense of purpose. It makes me feel like I'm making a difference. When I die, I don't want them to say, oh, she was married to Mr. Pompous. I want them to say, she created the world's best kept secret. She interviewed a lot of amazing people. She changed the world. She changed the game. I want those things to be said when I'm dead. So I am intentionally wanting to create my legacy, because when I'm dead tomorrow, I don't want people to say things about me that are not true. So does that place me on a path where I need help, or the normal? I don't know.
I would say when you do those things, how does it make you feel? Do you feel expanded? Do you feel that there's growth within yourself? Do you feel like a lightness in yourself? Do you feel free? Or do you feel like you're constricted? You're doing it out of shame. You're doing it because like, oh, I have to, I should do this. What's the feeling behind what you're doing?
The feeling is it's flowing, and so I do it. The moment it stops, I stop doing it. The moment it becomes something I have to push, I will find a way to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to push harder than that.
Mhm.
So if it's not flowing, if it's not making me happy, if it is not aligning with my heart, it's not happening.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I am very, very good at saying, no, that's not the path. That path doesn't feel good. And so I will not be going that way.
Yeah.
I'm
And
very
so,
firm on that. Like when it's not bringing me that sense of constantly becoming better every day, it's going to be questioned.
yeah. So what
Mm,
I hear from you is that you're very in tune with yourself and what's right for you
mm,
and what's not right for you. So I
mm,
would say you are it's okay to do all the things as long as you're feeling that feeling. And it's
mm,
the fact that you're saying no to the things that do not serve you is
mm,
a great sign that you're honoring yourself and honoring your legacy and honoring your inner voice. It's those times when you say yes to the things that feel constricted, you say yes because you think you should say yes. You do it
mm,
anyway. You think that, oh, I just have to push through this and then I'll be okay. It's those moments where you can't necessarily differentiate what's for you, what's not for you. And you end up saying
mm,
yes to basically everything because you're like, if I don't say yes, this might happen, X, Y, and Z might happen. I might not, it's that scarcity mindset. If I don't say yes, bad things happen. And so
mm,
that's where it becomes an issue because now you're saying yes to everything. You can't differentiate what's for you, what's not for you. And then you get
mm,
stuck in this low energy of like guilt. You either feel guilty because you said yes and now you got to dive your energy into it, or you said no and then you're like, oh, should I have said yes? I hate saying no to people. It's that energy that you carry that does not serve you. And those are the high achieving women that I help that have a hard time differentiating this is for me. I'm going to pour my energy into it because it pays back in tenfold. Those are the ones that pour their energy into it and then they feel worse or they feel guilty because they couldn't say no. Those are the ones that I help because they can't differentiate what's
mm,
for me, what's not
mm,
for me. I feel like
mm,
I should do it. I'm coming out of scarcity. I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling shameful if I say no. Those
mm.
are the ones that get stuck in those ruts of constantly giving, 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 and not honoring themselves.
Mm, I like it, and I've been making a list, which is I'm calling it the dysfunctional patterns. I want
Mhm.
the listener to go, man, Dr. Kelly has hammered on me. She's put a light on me. She's called me out. I need to step forward and change my life.
Mhm.
They said yes too much. Yes, 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 yes. And sometimes it's just against their
Mhm.
will or whatever. They have
Yeah.
should have to. What are the other patterns that someone can go, that is me. I want to make like a list for them, a checklist to know that,
Yeah.
you know what, this is now you're in a point where you're going, the direction where you definitely need Dr. Care in your life. What are the
Yeah.
other things they're experiencing?
Another one is taking, and this may be very subconscious, this is what I noticed in my life, taking others' opinions or beliefs to heart. So
Mm,
maybe you're constantly seeking out validation from a parent or something. So you kind of make all your decisions to make that person proud. And
mm,
maybe it's even decisions that you're like, well, if they're happy, then I'm happy. And so if you
mm,
start attaching how you're feeling to what someone else is saying about it or what their expectations are, that is also you abandoning yourself because you're not listening to what's in alignment with you. You're
mm,
taking everybody else's opinions into heart. And again, it may be very subconscious. You may not consciously be like, I'm going to do it because she said that I should do this. It may just
mm,
be like, I know if I made this decision, it would rub that person the wrong way. So I'm just going to stay here because it feels safe to me.
mm,
And that becomes an issue because safety doesn't always mean that you're in alignment with yourself. We stay safe in what's familiar. And what's
mm,
familiar means that we're not growing. And we are
mm,
here to grow and expand. So if you're constantly going back to what's familiar or what is expected of you, you are actually living out of alignment with what maybe you desire in your life if you really do a deep dive into that.
mm, mm. You're saying yes, you're doing things because you should do them. Other people's opinions of you are stronger than your opinion of yourself. Is there anything else that they should know? Like, you know what? This is a sign that, you know what? I need to change my life.
Mhm. Yeah,
Is there
another
anything
sign
else?
Yeah, another sign is how do you feel physically? So maybe
Mm,
you're doing all the work, but it feels like your eyes are strained, you're not sleeping at night, you feel tense all the time, you're getting sick a lot, maybe you have headaches, you feel
mm,
like you can't take a deep breath. Those are all signs that your body is saying something is off. And what I teach my clients is that your body is truth. Your body is speaking the truth, so you need to listen to it. And
mm,
another sign of us abandoning ourselves is that we often neglect those signs from our body. We say, "Oh, I've always get headaches. That's just how it is." Or, "Oh, it's the winter. I'm sick." Everyone's sick, or
mm,
"I've had this tension in my neck for years." And we start to normalize the symptoms that our body is expressing to us until they amplify to where we can't ignore them anymore. And so what I want people to realize is that when your body is sending you signals, you need to listen to them. That becomes your truth. It's either telling you that what you're doing doesn't necessarily feel safe. And it could be
mm,
that you are maybe at work, you're listening to your boss. You are totally out of alignment with your boss, but yet you still continue to follow that, or you are keeping yourself quiet. Maybe you're not speaking up for yourself. Maybe you're not advocating for yourself. Maybe you're just trying to conform to keep the peace. And now your
mm,
body starts to tell you like, that's not safe. And we ignore those signals from our body. And so
mm,
another big part is that your body is speaking to you, but you're not acknowledging it and you're not honoring it.
mm, 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 mm. And if you could sum up in a minute, how does existing, living in survival mode look like every day?
Mm-hmm.
How do
Yeah.
you
So
tell someone is living in survival mode or they're existing? Like in a summary.
Yeah. So what existing feels like is that if you had
Mm,
a boulder and you had to push that boulder every day, you're starting from zero, pushing that boulder. You have to just get through it, get to the finish line, just push that boulder that day. It feels exhausting. It feels like unfulfilling. Like, why am I pushing this boulder across this line every single day? It's the same thing every single day. What's the purpose of this? You
mm,
feel like you are almost like just doing the monotonous autopilot. This is what I do. This is what I know. This is how I do it. I do this every day. I don't know why I do this every day, but I'm just doing this. And I am exhausted. And I don't want to do this, but I don't know any other way. That is the person who is not necessarily living in alignment versus what it feels like to live in alignment with yourself, to live more of a fulfilling life is that you are willing to take some of those risks of like going into the unknown, moving into an uncomfortable zone, connecting with yourself. I
mm,
find most people I work with, when I ask them, what do you want in your life? They can't answer it. They don't even know. They're
mm,
so disconnected. They don't even know what they want because they have lived so long with conforming to what they think that they should want, or they are, or the expectations of others. So when you live in a place where you are expansive, you know what you want. You don't know how you're going to get there, but you know deeply what you want. You're able to visualize it. You can feel
mm,
it. You feel like you're moving in an expansive, loving way. And you're doing all these things, even if they're uncomfortable, because you love yourself so much that you know you're worth moving out of your comfort zone. You know you're worth putting in the
mm,
hard work. You know you're worth being consistent, showing up every day for yourself because what you want in your life is worth it.
mm, This is good. Thing I can add is you're not scared to have the hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yep.
Because you know you're worth it. Because you know that you're unwilling to stay in this place where your
Mm-hmm.
boundaries are violated, where your body feels bad, where you feel your peace is being infringed on. You're not
Mm-hmm.
afraid to stand up for yourself and have the hard conversation, even if that could be something that results into the worst. You're not afraid to open the chapter and say, look, this is where I'm at. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm not willing to tolerate.
100%.
Dr. Kelly, I have had fun.
Yeah.
I know there's people going, my hand is up, kill me now. My hand is up, kill me now. So the first thing I'm going to say is, if you feel like you've been called out by Dr. Kelly, she did not mean to do that. And I have done that out of love because sometimes you need tough love. And so it's not on Dr. Kelly, it is on me. And I am doing it out of my sincere love that you get out of wherever you are and start showing up for yourself and start claiming the things that you want and start taking those bold steps towards the things that you want. So, am I sorry for that? No, I have done it out of love. If your hand is up and you're like, all right, all right, all right, let's go. One, do you know anyone that needs to hear this? You know anyone that is living this life and needs to stop? Do you know anyone that is living this life and they won't listen to the person who's trying to whisper in their ears, but will be open because this is two people who have nothing to do with what they're going through? If you know one person that needs to hear this message, that needs to hear about Dr. Kelly, that needs to change their life, Dr. Kelly, tell me, how do you support people? What do you do in the back to hold people through this breath work, through this subconscious reprogramming, through all of these beautiful tools that you have?
Yeah, so I do one-on-one sessions for someone who needs a little bit more of that intimate, very specialized one-on-one care. But I also have a course called Thriving Under Pressure, where it's a guided course with live sessions. You have all the content there that guides you literally through nervous system regulation, subconscious mind reprogramming, and then I'm with you every step of the way to hold your hand through that. So that's also how I help support people through this. And then I'm also creating a pandiculation course right now. It's a mini course, and that's really to help you release the tension from your body from the inside out.
So one-on-one coaching and courses specific to specific areas. Amazing. What is my number one step in getting closer to your services, to what you offer, in learning more? What is step one?
Yeah, so step one, you can visit my website. It's optimalu, Y-O-U, healthandwellness.com. So that's where you can find me. And then from there, you can get to everything else. I'm on socials under Dr. Kelly Kessler. And then I also have a podcast called Rewiring Health, where I share a lot of my insight and how to heal yourself.
Do you have a way that you offer like a consulting call or if I wanted to talk to you to learn more because I actually want to be coached or I actually want the next step without going through all of your content that you've written for 4 years, what do I do? Is there like a way I can talk to you?
Yep. So the best way is that you can book a discovery call through my website. So it's a 15-minute call, and it's really just to get to know where you are, how can I assist you in getting to where you want to be? So it's a free call, and feel free to book that with me.
There you have it. There you have it, my friend. Everything that Dr. Kelly has said about the links and where to get her, including what she has not said, which may discover may be helpful, will be in the show notes. So if you're watching this on a podcast platform, just scroll through the notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, scroll through the notes. Everything about Dr. Kelly and how to get to her will be rightfully in the show notes. We're wrapping up this. Dr. Kelly, you've been amazing, amazing. What are your last words of wisdom to a woman on the other side who knows that she's not living her true life, who's always putting out fires, who feels like if she breathes or winks, the world is going to come to an end? Who feels like the world can't move on if she's blinking or closing her eyes or breathing in and out? And she's like, you know what? I'm actually done with this life. I'm done with existing. And I'm ready to move forward and test that survival that people keep thinking thriving. I want to thrive. I know I can, but I'm ready. Today I'm ready. I'm ready. What are your last words closing out of your words of wisdom to that person?
Yeah, I think I would leave that person with a quote from Einstein, and it says, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." And so if you're trying to solve the problem of wanting to thrive in your life and you still have the same beliefs, the same mentality around it, it's going to be really challenging to get to a place where you really want to be. So start changing from the inside out, and your whole reality changes based on where you are. So your world is a mirror of yourself. So whatever you feel, believe, and express within yourself becomes mirrored in the outside world.
I love it. My words as we end are I still remember the lady who told me you can either create your hell on earth or your heaven on earth, and it's all in your hands. Life will continue to happen. Setbacks will continue to show. Life will throw what it can at you. That doesn't change because life is life. And that's what makes it truly beautiful. The difference is, how do you go through life? How do you go through the problems? How do you bounce back when life has given you a taste of its life? Because you can either create your heaven on earth or you can create your hell on earth. Both of those are choices that you get to make. My friend, thank you so much for spending your 1 hour or so with us. There's millions of podcasts that you could be on. You chose this one. And I don't take your attention for granted. I hope that this was worth your time. I hope that there is someone that you can share this with who it will help as well. I hope you subscribe. I hope you rate this show, because the more you can do those things, the bigger we can grow. The more things we can do, the better the speakers and all of the goodness. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We appreciate your words of wisdom and your insights for today.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here today.
That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the world's best kept secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.